the leaks and what he called, quote, unauthorized, unquote, publications of those tapes of his private conversations. Ratan Tata also alleges that it was a sheer violation of his right to privacy. Now, the Tatas, Ratan Tata here, is seeking an injunction on the media from publishing any more leaks from government officials. Tata says that the tapes malign him needlessly. They were meant only for investigating agencies and yet were handed out to Prashant Bhushan. Now, Prashant Bhushan, who has filed a public interest litigation seeking the prosecution of Telecom Minister A. Raja, said he would contest any injunction sought by Tata. Bhushan, who has used the tapes in his litigation, says the tapes were given to him by an official. Let's take a closer look now at what the petition that Ratan Tata's lawyers filed in the Supreme Court. It says that the leaks are a violation of their client's privacy. Why were the tapes, in fact, released to the media in the first place? Conversations there were private, they say. How did the tapes actually reach outside investigating agencies? Another question being asked. Clearly also Ratan Tata raising the points in the court, saying that in fact the tapes were used to malign Nira Radia, and the viewpoints of either Ratan Tata himself or Nira Radia were not sought when these tapes were made public by various magazines and networks.
According to me, public interest requires that truth on public matters must be known to the people. This is the first element of transparency, is the highest importance in a democracy. To me, all other subordinate points, of what you call damage, must yield to that.
Well, that is between Mr. Ratan Tata and the court. Now that Mr. Tata has chosen to go to the court, I think it should be best left to the discretion of the court.
Now, the Supreme Court petition comes days after an interview in which Tata clarified that he wasn't against investigations into telecom. In fact, he called for the government to audit all telecom companies and policy moves from 1999 to date. But he said the Radia tapes were being misused to create a smokescreen behind which the real issues and guilty were hiding. He said the whole situation was making India look like a banana republic. That, of course, was an interview that Ratan Tata gave a couple of days ago, where he, in fact, clearly said that he's not per se against those tapes being made public. He took issue with the fact that private personal conversations were put out there, which, in fact, would embarrass him or Nira Radia. Let's also tell you a look at what the law says here. Calls found to be irrelevant must be destroyed in 48 hours. So calls not pertaining to an investigation must be destroyed in about 2 days. But let's look at what happened here. What we saw, in fact, that did not happen. Those conversations, all sorts of conversations, in fact, made it to print, to newspapers and magazines. So, as far as the story goes, the latest on that front is we're hearing at this point of time. This is something that will be that will come as some sort of good news, if you like, to Ratan Tata at this point in time, because the government is looking at those allegations extremely seriously. Remember, Ratan Tata was rather unhappy, furious, upset at what had happened as far as those tapes being leaked, the private personal conversations which he said, and now it seems the government is taking note of that. In fact, we are hearing that the government has ordered a probe into those tapes. The Intelligence Bureau and the Central Board of Direct Taxes, these are the two bodies, the agencies that will take up the investigations and how these tapes, in fact, were released to the media. Already, the Tata Group chairperson has moved the Supreme Court, like we mentioned, that happened earlier in the day here, seeking action against those responsible for the leaks, what he called unauthorized publications of the tapes of his private conversations. Ratan Tata also alleges that it was a sheer violation of his privacy to that regards. Tata is seeking an injunction now. This is also the latest coming in as far as the law courts go. He's seeking an injunction for no further private personal conversations to make it to any more newspapers to be put out there in print. Now, the Tatas also say that the tapes were out there to malign him needlessly. They were meant only for investigating agencies and yet were handed over to Prashant Bhushan. Now, let's get you more on what the government is doing about this. Bilal Zaidi joins us from New Delhi with more on this. Bilal,